Today we're going to talk about how to never get a kidney stone. Then we're going to roll into 20 scientifically proven tips, because when you do a search online or watch all these videos, it's going to give you all of these solutions. It's going to tell you all these theories. But the question is, what is that one thing that is the most important thing to focus on? If you understand what that is, everything else will make sense. Okay, most kidney stones are calcium oxalate stones. So it's a combination of calcium with the oxalate, and it builds up in the kidney. Now, sometimes there's a uric acid stone, sometimes there's a stone made out of phosphorus, but it doesn't matter because the solution is going to be the same thing. It's going to be this thing right here. Number one, magnesium glycinate, 300 to 400 milligrams a day. Now, if you're getting enough magnesium from your diet, you don't need to do this unless you know you're at risk for a kidney stone. Maybe your parents had it or there's some genetic predisposition. But the glycinate part, which is glycine connected to magnesium, is really good for sleeping, but it's also good to increase glutathione, which is an antioxidant that can actually help your kidneys. So this is why I recommend magnesium glycinate with lemon water, okay, on a regular basis. So the combination of these two together are going to be really good. And you can even get this in a dissolvable powder form as well. Now, one thing you might want to think about with lemon water is just put it in mineral water. Why? Because mineral water is a good source of magnesium. So that could be very helpful. Number three, leafy greens. The chlorophyll, the green stuff in leafy greens, has a root of magnesium. Avocados are high in magnesium. Pumpkin seeds have a good amount of magnesium. But a lot of times when you're looking at your foods and calculating how much magnesium you're getting, it's not as much as you might think. You might have to increase it to create a therapeutic dosage. Number five, should you lower your oxalates in food? Yes, they're in spinach, almonds, almond flour, chocolate. But what's interesting, these other foods, these things right here, spinach, almonds, and chocolate, are also super high in magnesium. And magnesium will bind with the oxalates. It's almost like nature has provided the antidote to the poison or the toxin. I'm not 100% convinced that you're going to get a kidney stone from spinach, almonds, or chocolate because it's high in the antidote. But just to be sure, maybe you do want to lower them. All right, number six, I did mention phosphorus. Phosphorus is something we need in normal healthy food. You're going to be fine. But when you start to have junk food, especially colas, you're going to get a lot of phosphoric acid. That artificial type of phosphorus is not good for your kidneys. It's not good to help you avoid a stone. It can create all sorts of problems, not just with kidney stones, but other issues. So for that reason, I would just avoid junk food and cola, right? Number seven, if you ever take vitamin D, also take magnesium. Or if you buy a vitamin D supplement, make sure it just has magnesium in it. As long as you have enough of the cofactors, magnesium, vitamin K2, zinc, it is going to help protect you against this calcium overload in the body. All right, number eight, avoid calcium carbonate. Literally on all of the big brand multivitamin minerals, the first ingredient is this limestone calcium carbonate. You don't want to load up your body with a lot of calcium. It potentially could trigger a kidney stone. This is why I recommend getting your calcium from food like cheese or dairy, but not from rocks or limestone, especially not as the first ingredient in these supplements. Number nine, drink 2.5 liters of fluid per day. Okay, I do recommend you do that, but make sure it's not soft water. Okay, if you have a water softener, they're taking out the minerals. Hard water is calcium and magnesium. So the risk for kidney stones decrease when you drink hard water, like well water or spring water. But regardless of what type of water you drink, if you keep your liquids 2.5 liters, it's very unlikely you're going to develop a stone, especially if you're doing all these other things. And number 10, potassium foods are important. The foods that are high in magnesium are also high in potassium, so you should be okay on that. But potassium is an alkalizer. It will help prevent the formation of the uric acid stone, but it also helps you retain citrates. So it's another benefit from having enough potassium. 11, diabetics are at high risk for kidney stones, and having the body too far one way or another can create a problem with different stones. But you do want to lower your carbs if you want to decrease your risk of getting a stone. Diabetics type 2 usually are very severely magnesium deficient. And even having a lot of sugar in your body, whether it's coming from the diet or another way, is going to increase the demand for magnesium and even deplete magnesium and other nutrients. All right, number 12, fermented foods. That may help you reseed the gut microbiome with that microbe that can help eat oxalates, potentially. But there is some interesting research on consuming fermented foods or probiotics and decreasing your risk for kidney stones. And number 13, avoid high fructose corn syrup. You just want to avoid all junk food because that can increase your risk for uric acid stones. Number 14 is decreasing alcohol. Alcohol also puts a lot of stress on the kidney and the liver, creating a potential for getting a stone. And then number 15, make sure you have enough hydrochloric acid in your stomach because as we get older, we lose the stomach acid. And that means we can't absorb minerals like we used to, like magnesium. So how do you know if you have low stomach acid? Typically, you're going to have indigestion, gas, a lot of bloating, maybe acid reflux or GERD. The solution is something called betaine hydrochloride to acidify the stomach, and that will not just solve those symptoms, but help you absorb more nutrients like magnesium. The more chronic stress that you're under, the more magnesium you are going to be deficient in. So in other words, if you live a really stressful life, you need a lot more than this too, especially if you have problems sleeping. Number 17, the more sweating you do, maybe you exercise or you just sweat a lot, that can also cause a magnesium deficiency just from the sweat loss. And this also means if you do a lot of jacuzzis or sauna, you will lose more magnesium in that process. And then if you overtrain, if you do a lot of heavy lifting or a lot of exercise or marathons, in order to make energy, you need magnesium to make this thing called ATP. So the demand for magnesium is super high for an athlete, or especially if someone's overtraining. You need more magnesium to run those little motors. And then there's also medications that deplete magnesium. Diuretics are a big one, antibiotics, steroids, birth control pills. And the last thing on the list is fluoride. Fluoride in your water can deplete magnesium.